Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another War of the Visions video, and today we're going to talk about trust stones. In particular, we're going to talk about which trust stone types I think are the best, what a kind of perfect TMR stone looks like, and I'm going to recommend how you should build out your trust stones, because a lot of people in this game right now are getting to the point where they want to commit to building some UR trust stones, but they don't want to waste their valuable materials, their valuable trust stone leveling materials on the wrong one. There's a lot of fear that's, I think, stopping people from building up their stones. So I'm going to show you what I would recommend today to help kind of unlock you to start working on your own. Now, I'm going to start by talking about what I value in trust stones and showing what I think kind of a perfect one is. I value stats and trust stones that can be equipped on any character and still be really good. That way you can move them around, get a lot of use out of them. It takes a little bit of time to farm and build these things up, so get max bang for your buck. I like agility type. I'll go over the whole types in a minute, but let me start by talking about the agility type. You get 1 agility for each stone you equip, and you get an additional 3 from the set bonus. That is adding 6 agility to a TMR, which turns a 0 agility TMR into 6, which is what the fastest ones in the game are, and turns a 6 agility TMR into 12. What? That's crazy fast. So I love agility because every unit in the game loves agility. Then this has critical damage and critical hit rate up in the additional abilities box. When you're talking about the set bonuses, this is agility set bonus, keep in mind this, what you see on the screen right now, stacks with everything. But these additional abilities, the crit damage and critical hit rate up, do not stack with other additional abilities from types of gear that you're running. So I really like ones like crit damage and crit hit rate up that, one, are good for every unit. Whether you're a mage, slashing type, pierce type, everybody benefits from critting more and doing more crit damage. But also, you don't see these as passive abilities on a lot of other pieces of gear in the game. For example, if you're a slash type unit, there's so many pieces of gear that give you slash attack up or slash attack resistance piercing up or something like that. So having that also on a trust stone, you might not get the bang for your buck. Crit damage and crit hit rate up are not on a ton of other things. I really like them on trust stones. So I think this is kind of what a perfect trust stone looks like. Max leveled crit damage and crit hit rate up that are also the appropriate max, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, on the agility type. Okay, let's go next to the different types of trust stones and talk about which ones I recommend. On the left side of the screen here, these are your defensive side. So the left side of the stone is your defensive type ones. The right side of your stone is the offensive type ones. Let's start with the left. I think there are 2 that are better than every other type. Those are the HP ones and the luck ones. Unless you're an evasion character, then I think you go for evade. So let's start with the HP set. This is going to give you 5% more HP and 5 to every elemental resist. Again, set bonuses stack with everything. So for your unit that's running an HP set, they are just that much harder to kill. They just have 5% more HP and they're 5% resistant to every element in the game. Every unit benefits from that. Now, you could go for defense or spirit, but again, you're only getting value there based on if you're fighting a physical attacker or a magic attacker, so I don't like that as much as HP. Or alternatively, if you're going for an anti-evade build, an accuracy build, you can run luck. Luck is both, even though it's on the defensive side, it's kind of an offensive stat. So for example, on my bells right now, I have the luck type defensive trust stones equipped because I'm trying to use my Setia or a different unit like Winter Luartha or something to hit evasion units. 15% luck will be a big help to that, so that's great. Then the caveat here, even though I recommend HP and luck the most, you can technically transfer your luck stones over to your evasion units if you don't want to build an evasion set, but you will get more evade out of the evasion set specifically. The problem I have with the evasion set is they're only good for evasion units, right? So if I'm valuing flexibility more, I would say luck is much more flexible and also good for evasion units. But if you are really trying to run the most evade you can, go ahead and build yourself a set of evasion defensive type trust stones. The rest of them on here, I just don't think are as good. I use HP the most. Unless I'm building an accuracy set of gear, then I use luck. Or if I'm building an evasion set of gear, I use evasion. Okay, let's talk next about the offensive type trust stones, the right side. There again are 2 in here that I think are my favorite 2, and then there's like the second place category. So let's start with my favorite 2. Obviously, I already talked about how freaking good the agility set is. And not only is it good for every unit in the game, again, if you're running evasion, it also has evade on it. So that's pretty dang nice. I really love the agility set. I run this one the most. Now, if I'm running an accuracy build, though, I will add, I'll take 15 accuracy. That sounds great. And that 15 accuracy, because it's a set bonus, stacks with everything in the game. I'm going to keep mentioning that because it gets asked all the time. Set bonuses stack with everything. So, in my opinion, the accuracy set and the agility set are my favorite 2. I run the agility set the most. Right under that are your damage ones to me, though. I don't think you're doing yourself a disservice if you build something like the critical hit and critical damage set. Getting 15% more crit might just guarantee you crits, and 10% more crit, or plus 10 crit damage, will boost your damage. So if you're just going for raw damage, I do like the critical hit rate set, or you can go with the attack or magic set, which also add a little bit of penetration in there. I don't think those are bad, but again, they're not as generically good, and with as much as I like to move my trust stones around, I just find that building the agility set allows me to be like, oh, well, I'll just be faster on whatever unit I'm running, and that feels good to me. So that's kind of my breakdown about which sets that I like to run. Let me show you my bells a little bit right here. My bells, let's go here. So bells, you can see I have accuracy on them, and I don't have the passives on these leveled up all the way, but I have accuracy, so the aim type, which is giving me that accuracy bonus, plus 2 from each one, which is pretty nice. And then my additional abilities on here. I have acquired AP up 20% and reaction block rate up 20%. I bring this trust stone onto the screen as a segue into the next portion of this video on purpose. Freaking run reaction block rate 20 on everything. Everything. Make sure every TMR you're running has reaction block rate 20 on it, because the worst part of War of the Visions is reflex. The absolute dumbest thing in this game is reflex. I could make a whole video where all I do is just rant about how much reflex is stupid and I hate it. So giving yourself a 20% chance to not proc reflex is the best additional ability in the game. Period, bar none. If you cannot get reflexed, you win. So, okay, rant over. I was only mostly serious right there. So in this one, you can see I have acquired AP up 20% and reaction block rate up 20. Again, keep in mind, not much gear has acquired AP up percent on it, and very, very little gear has reaction block rate on it. So these additional abilities are going to be good regardless of what other gear my character is wearing. If we were to jump back, let's jump back to the webpage here, and I'll link this webpage in the stats. We're going to go look at the additional effects that you can get on your trust stones, and I'm going to kind of recommend them. Once again, we will start with the defensive set. I really like the first half of this list, and I really hate the second half of this list as far as what to go for. When you are rolling stones, LOL the band, when you are rolling your trust stones, which I'll show you the process here in a minute as well, I think anytime you catch a good one, and by good one, I mean one that has the highest base, the base value, you should just keep it. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, when you roll a defensive trust stone, you will get, and it has HP on it as a passive. You will either get HP 2, HP 3, or HP 4. HP 2 and HP 3 are bad. You only want HP 4. Just like if you're going for luck, luck 2 and luck 3 are bad, you only want luck 4, because the starting number affects the max number. If you roll HP 4 and you level it up, you have HP 10 at the end. Whereas if you roll HP 2, it only levels up to 5, so you're losing half the value. So you always want to make sure you're getting the highest minimum value available, so when you level it up, you have the highest maximum value available. That should make sense. Now, which ones do I like? I like HP. Again, you don't have a ton of gear with HP up passives on it, so I think that's really good. I do not like TP at all. I think luck is good, especially again if you're not running another piece of gear that has luck on it. Luck is super valuable. Get yourself another 10%, whether for accuracy or evade. Critical evasion, I think, is like sneakily good because there's a lot of crit in the game. Giving yourself 15% evasion to that is nice, and again, it's not on a lot of gear. You then have every resistance type, right? Like here's fire, water, lightning, earth, wind, and then you scroll down a little bit more, you'll get into slash resist, strike resist. Every one of these, the base value you're looking for is 4, and they max out at 7. I think anytime you hit one of these, keep it. It's very, very hard on defensive stones to get good passives that are at that like maximum base value, because once we get below evasion, you get into a bunch of garbage ones. There's like poison resist, blind resist, sleep resist, paralyze resist, confusion resist. And like, yes, while having confusion resist 25 might be good against Agrius in a little bit, and you might want to just have one set around because Agrius is going to be limit breaking the world again, it's not generically super good. So we're getting into very specific things. When you're talking about adding 25% charm resist to a piece of gear, this is something you would go for in like a very specific situation. In my opinion, I would almost always rather have strike resistance or pierce resistance or missile resistance or something like that. So there's a ton of status effect resistance, toad, doom, attack debuff resistance, agility debuff resistance, increased debuff resistance for all elemental resistance. I don't like almost any of these on the bottom half of this list, unless I'm going for something super, super specific. So I think if you catch any of these ones that are like magic resist 4%, even if you're not currently planning on running your unit into a magic resist team, at some point that stone could end up on a tank, and your tank having 7% more magic resistance seems like a pretty good idea. I want to talk for a minute about evasion rate. Here's my problem with, like, I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to get evasion rate passive. If you're running an evasion unit, you are probably running them with a piece of gear like the Santa Claus or the Sage's Hat that already has a higher passive evasion bonus than 7. So you actually just won't get this. It actually just won't even count. So I don't even think evasion is that good, but if you roll it once, you might just keep it. Again, I'll kind of show that process here in a minute. On to the attack side. Now the attack side is sorted differently, so I can just start at the bottom. Let me tell you about which ones of these I like the most. First of all, the absolute best one is this one. 20% chance to reduce the counter reaction ability. That starts at 7. So if you see a 7% chance to reduce counter, level it up. You've got yourself a keeper. Keep it. More on that in a minute. There's also defense and spirit penetration, which I like a lot. Healing power I don't love. If you ever roll max damage 333, save that thing. That is a max damage up 1000, which is super good for PvE bosses at some point. I have 5 of these that I don't have equipped all the time, but I have ready for PvE events. Skill time activation down. I think this is one a lot of people sleep on. For mages, this is super good. So you want that 67 base that levels up to 200. Acquired AP I really like. Accuracy is kind of good. It kind of suffers from the same thing that the evasion one suffers from. A lot of times you have a piece of gear that already has an accuracy passive on it, so you might not even get this. Then you have the attack resistance penetrations. I keep these if I roll them, even though I won't be using them all the time. I could level them when I need them. You also have every attack type, both element and like slashing, strike, pierce, water, lightning, earth. Those base at 4 and max at 10. I think those are good. I already showed you my critical rate and critical damage one that I like a lot. Then you have dex, magic, and attack, and the attack and magics cap at 20. I love these. These are some of my favorite ones in the game. The attack percent and magic percent, love them. Love them, love them, love them. And dex isn't terrible. Dex does help you hit things a little bit, not as much as luck does, and it also helps you crit. And then we're getting into like the second best ones from here on up. So you can see there's much fewer of the offensive ones. So if you roll one that you like, that you think is good, like Ice Attack 4, even if you're not going to use it right now, I think you should save it in case you need it later. So now, okay, the next thing I want to show you. I want to show you the process of acquiring those passives. This is one of the most daunting things, but it's actually not that bad once you get a significant amount of the trust zone rolling materials. So I'm going to go to Forge right here, and let's go to I-type. Right now I have 60 I-type shards. That's enough to roll 3 defensive type I trust stones. So let's go with the HP ones. These are the ones I like the most. I'm going to click this, I'm going to click max, and I'm going to forge 3 trust stones. I'm going to check them, right? Okay, this one is Spirit, Debuff, Resistance, Resist up 5. That sucks, I don't care about that one. This one we have Max TP up 2, that's terrible. And this one we have Immobilize, Resist up 7. I don't like any of those. So what I would do at this point is I would go to Dismantle, I would go to I have all the ones I'm keeping saved. I will now dismantle those 3 that I just made, and I will reforge them. You can see how this would obviously be a quicker process the more trust stone leveling materials. Like if I was doing these 8 at a time, this process would be a lot quicker. This time I got Disable Resist 5, I got all attack resistance debuff resist 5, and I got all attack resistance debuff resist up 5 again. So again, 3 not keepers. I would dismantle those and then reforge them later. Now say I rolled one and got something I liked. Like let's look at this Starlight L on a TMR one. Say I got critical evasion 5, say I got water attack resist up 4. Okay, perfect. This is something I could max out later. I would then keep that trust stone, or I would transfer it onto a trust zone that I already made with a spot open waiting for it to be transferred to. So I kind of hope that shows you the process and shows you how this process is a lot easier the more trust zone materials you have, which means if you've been farming these, even if you've waited for a while, the more farming that you've done, the easier this is going to be. Let's do one more set. Let's see if I can get lucky right here and get a passive I actually like. Nope. If this was Magic Resist up 4, I would keep this one, but no. And then Attack Debuff Resist 17, no. So again, 3 more bad ones. For me, I can do this process up to 50 times a day. I definitely do not do this 50 times every day, but I have a lot of materials ready to go, so it's really not that bad for me when I do decide to do it. Okay, I hope that answers the questions I've been getting. I hope that showed you guys the type of trust zones that I like and the passive abilities that I like to go for. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll try to respond to them, or somebody else out there will. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.